All right, so we'll pick up with this session and a quick refresher of what we did last session, which we did just talk about. But the session itself ended and I'll pull up the map. It ended in the Sootscale Mines, or at least what was formerly known as the Sootscale Mines. And throughout that session, you had been traveling northward. We can see the party token is there. And you had made your way past the kill tube. And I think you encountered some other folks on the road. You saw definitely one of the things that you saw that was a little bit off-putting were some Pitaxians who were traveling around and freely in your terrain and what you would imagine to be your future kingdom, if not your current kingdom, depending on how you look at it. But
Mm.
it definitely was off-putting. You saw them, they passed through and didn't really disclose to you what they were doing there. And again, that was another confrontation I think that was mostly avoided. And I don't know if I'm missing anything else.
His name was Lord Vorlin, uh,
Hmm.
just for everyone. And also we had the encounter with the traders on their way down to
Grogna, Thomar, and Selah.
That's right.
yeah, they were
Those
on their
all
way
lead
to
up
some
to.
lizard men.
That was
Mm.
the first thing you had done, really, right?
Yeah, that started
Hmm.
the session,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So you did a little bit of resupply there, and yeah, you made your way northward and arrived at the mines. I believe it was nighttime, and you were able to take refuge in the mine, and you heard a familiar voice, that of Vitaly, who is your counselor for your kingdom. He's responsible for some of the projects, specifically the road work that you all commissioned him to lead. And you saw some of that evidence of that. That's the other thing to mention, is that your roadworks seemed to be progressing, at least in this region. And when you meet up with Vitali, he will definitely, he found a place for you all to rest. So we'll wave the evening through that you've all had an opportunity to rest here at the Sootscale Mines. And in the morning, we'll pull you all together with Vitali, who will greet you and maybe even bring you all a warm cup of tea that he has made and drinks. And so he'll share with you some news of the kingdom and speak a little bit about the kingdom is taking shape despite your absence. Many matters have moved forward, but there are some looming over us. For one, the question of our kingdom's name is a matter that goes unresolved, and Tartuccio, before his sudden departure, had offered a few interesting suggestions, shall we say, for the domain, and I will leave that up to you all to decide when we arrive at the fort. But it is a matter that I think will require some decision. Some have spoken of it as New Brevoy. That is perhaps that, and the Stagfall is another name that has been spoken in some circles. Again, I'll leave this to you all to decide when you return to respectfully to the fort to meet with your other consortium. And let's see, what else does he tell you about? Any comments on that before he continues?
I think Reckla would ask about Tartuccio's sudden disappearance.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, yes.
yeah.
Yes,
What were the circumstances?
he packed his things and headed towards Restov. He said he had business to attend to. There were visitors earlier that week from Restov who had brought tidings, but I hadn't noticed any urgent matters that required his departure. But this was several days ago now that he headed to Restov.
Thank you.
On the matter of projects, I'm pleased to report to you that the road construction from the fort to the mines is progressing well, and the workers estimate there is only a few more weeks until completion, where we'll have the mines in the fort roadway connected, and we'll be able to start to bring supplies more easily. We have been having some supply line issues with many of our tools breaking down more frequently than expected, which has caused my back and forth from here to the fort. And one of the matters that Tartuccio had promised to help us with, but we've yet to overcome, is our lack of tools. So it may slow us down if we don't get this dealt with soon, but for now they're making do with what they have. And we're noticing that some of the merchants, our grace period for discount may have expired or be expiring, as it seems prices are rising. And that has become more and more difficult for us again to get the tools that we need of any quality. But regardless, the kingdom grows. I think you might be surprised by the new faces you'll see I assume we head towards the fort today.
I do believe that is the plan. I think essentially, just to recap with the group, the intent to head back to town was mostly for supplies.
Yeah, I think that was a big chunk of it. I don't remember what supplies people wanted. I think at one point in time, a couple people were suggesting going to Restov entirely to go talk to, I don't know, whoever you guys had, whoever your contact there is. For what it's worth, Sydney is following whatever the group's doing. She's just
Yeah.
tagging along.
She doesn't
Y'all
have
saved her life as far as she's concerned.
Yeah, she doesn't have any specific ties to Restov that we know of. So yeah, she's very much at this point like at your mercy as far as who to trust and where to go if you end up in Restov.
But I'm on my way to Fort Sorrenco. I know we were going there, and I think
Mm-hmm.
the idea was at least somewhat to resupply. Not, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was
Yep.
resupply and go talk to Lady Jamandi about the two that we cleared out.
Right,
There you
and
go.
maybe get a strategy on Tartuccio.
Yeah, that was the other major concern. Everyone didn't like that he was unsupervised.
Yeah, and he's still unsupervised, and he's got a couple of days lead on us.
Yeah, he's going to Restov, so God knows what he's doing.
And then I guess has some supplies he needs to get to specifically alchemy supplies. All right, let's continue to the fort, and we'll do a check in there and see how things are progressing, and then head off to Brevoy.
If this Tartuccio
Restov.
character is as bad as he sounds, it might just be a good time to just lock the fucking doors.
Yeah, we could put an APB out on him.
With that, Vitaly will get himself ready to go, and everyone else can pack up. There are some other road work crew members milling about, and people coming in and out, taking supplies, even in the morning. It's pretty active, so he speaks with one of them to let him know that you're all heading northward, and that he'll return when it's time, but to keep an eye on the operations, and he'll go ahead and pull you guys towards the right path to get you back towards the best way, which might be a little bit different. So that you might notice at this point that the roadway is together here from the mine heading northward for a good mile or so before you start to see some of the construction in its current state, and you end up having to travel pretty much through some dirt ground and gravel and different terrain in between some of these patches of construction. But one thing you notice is that when you arrive to one of the crews, you can see a lot of them are sitting around, and there's one guy swinging a pick, and they're all watching the one guy swing a pick. So you've all been there before, but here you go, and it's your kingdom. And it might be telling to you that the crews are still functioning, doing pretty well, that the roadway itself seems like it's going to be serviceable, and Vitaly will speak to you about that, about how much trade that with this road could open up if we can find a way to bring trade to the region. It seems like the road is ready for it. So you guys will basically stick to the roadway throughout the day. I'm gonna have, I'd like for one of you to make a percentile roll for me, please. I'm gonna have roll some of our kingdom events. I'm gonna see if there's what's going on in the kingdom as you are getting closer to your capital.
How many you need?
That one didn't roll. If you do, oh wait, I did it roll. You got one. Okay.
Reckla got one.
Reckla got
Scott
one.
got one.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yes.
That's all you need.
So
We'll
I
leave it
just
at
need that. Okay. Yes. For the most part, it feels like pretty calm and stable, and as expected, your travel throughout the day. I think by the time you make your way back towards the fort, it would be dusk. Certainly, it would be dark, and you would be approaching the fort by night, where you might notice in the hills around the fort itself, there are several structures that have been erected. They look like they are makeshift tents and cabins that are being built in some of the area. Probably a total in all around the fort. It looks like there might be about 8 structures that are either built on. That I think is probably the first thing that gives you an impression that there has been a little bit of population growth. And you notice from the fort itself quite a bit of light, and above on the platform where you had previously been that had been mostly wrecked, you actually see that some of that structure has been built up and that they've built some cover for archers that wasn't previously there. So I think you might be noticing, even before you get to the gate, that there's been some improvements on the fort itself. The outer structure of the fort looks pretty similar, definitely more filled in. Some of the repair that was necessary looks like it's been done. So those of you who had taken a close look at this place before, you would certainly see this as well. And you all approach the gate, and Vitaly waves to the gatekeeper and says, "Our leaders have returned. Open the gate. Send out word." And as you start to hear the gate cranking open, you start to hear some sort of voices and murmuring going on inside as well. And when you enter into the fort, there are dozens of people there that you don't recognize. And they're an assortment of folks that look like they are hunters, merchants, a mixture of tradesmen as well, mixed amongst the group. Several different races, but mainly human. Again, like maybe not that different from what the bandits looked like a little bit. Some of these guys might even give you that vibe. But for the most part, it seems like a pretty wide mix of people. And upon seeing Vitaly enter the gate, a lot of the people begin to cheer on as they start to recognize that it's the return of the council. And you all enter into the fort itself. And I think, let's see, where's my map?
I'm gonna have detect magic going to the extent that as we're like walking through the crowd and just making a mental note if anything pings. Not anything you need to like share if anything, but just if it comes up.
Sure. Okay.
I'll have my concentration on that.
Got it.
Like me.
I think one of the things that you'll notice as well is there's a couple of kobolds that are still here that you may have recognized from your original crew. And it looks like there might be a few more, some that weren't necessarily from your original crew that are also milling about here. I'll pull us over to the map in just a couple minutes here, but once I get this sorted out. But the stable that was by the entryway, you do see several riding horses stabled there and several people tending to those horses. Again, Vitaly leads you into the main courtyard where the cage was, and within it was the owlbear originally when you were here. So this has always been the main chamber. And as you enter into this room, it's There's just a handful of people milling about. They look like they're using the area. None of them are Tartuccio. Again, none of them are really too recognizable either. I'm going to move you guys over to the map now too. I think it's Sydney's the one that I am missing. Let me see.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so this would be Sydney's first time in the fort. And so the others, you may give the tour if you wish to Sydney, who's stepping foot here for the first time. But otherwise, you are the council, so to speak, and so your arrival gets everybody stirred. And really, the only officials, so to speak, that are here were your representatives, Miri, Valeri, and I think Vitaly was your other one. I don't know that you had any other, what were they called, but that you had basically coverage delegates for yourselves. Matters or things that are normally being discussed would be discussed in this room, and all of the folks who were representing you are present. So it almost looks like an abandoned office to you a little bit without yourselves here and Tartuccio here. It gives off that vibe. So you all roll in, and you can see the fort in action, and again, all of the people that are moving in and out and about. What would you like to get into?
I'm gonna, if nobody's gonna take me on the tour, I'm just gonna wander around.
Yeah, Reckla will show Sydney around, just retell the story of us attacking the fort, or not attacking, infiltrating the fort, and then liberating it.
From both
I-
the Stag Lord and his father.
The Stag Lord
Yep. Yes.
Stag Lord was pulled up here with an owl bear and his father locked in the basement.
and his father. The father of the owlbear?
Father.
Or his father. So
Yeah.
he jailed his father in the basement.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You hear
That was the guy who came back to life by the necromancer.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. The
Yeah.
necromancer. Yeah. Next time, lead with the necromancer.
some of the people who are milling about, you hear welcome you to New Brevoy. So I think you would actually hear that be spoken for the first time as you're in here. And I don't know how that sits with you to be called New Brevoy or to have your kingdom picking up a nickname, but you definitely start to get the sense that's become one of the prominent names. And
Reckla would have to say that he feels like Stagfall is a good name for the fort, because he doesn't want to give the Stag Lord
the kingdom name.
He was just a bump in the road. So I think calling the fort Stagfall would be good. And I don't know, New Brevoy is a good placeholder for now until option truly emerges.
So what became of the Stag Lord's helmet? Because that was being worn by one of your kobolds. I guess they had,
Kurth. It was on Kurth.
and so I don't know if Kurth, like some of your kobolds were left behind intentionally and some traveled with you. I know all the ones that traveled with you, I think, perished.
I was pretty certain that Kurth was meant to stay here as like as a mascot. He's
Yeah.
running around the old fort with the guy's helmet on.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
would think here.
So Kurth is, yeah, then Kurth would be the one that you would, through the crowd, eventually suddenly see like the very first familiar face, and before you see the face, you would see the antlers walking through the crowd at eye level, and then emerging Kurth, who will bow before you and say, I guess this would be, yeah, at this point he knows a little bit of common. He's picked up a little bit of common, and he would say, welcome home. Probably wise enough to know not to look for survivors of his people behind you. But even nonetheless,
All with honor.
yes. Maybe he'll tighten his helmet with that being said. And he'll motion to some of the, there's a handful of folks in here who are attending to some food service, and they actually bring in some food for you all. And he says, please, one of the servants says, please make yourself comfortable and let us know if there's anything else we can bring as he sets down a tray of meats and other things just from the recent harvest that you can all partake in. And
Oh, Sydney absolutely will, and she'll kick her feet up on the table when she does it. Like she's gonna get real comfortable, real comfortable. Bring a couple ales. She's gonna ask
yes,
for two.
right away, and they will bring several tankards in to set down. And I think that there is definitely that reunion time here for some of those that recognized you. I think they would all be glad to see you here. Also, there's been a vacuum of leadership with yourselves being gone and then Tartuccio leaving a couple days ago. As you're celebrating, you do start to notice some of the business at hand, some of the papers that are sitting out with bills written out on them, handwritten notes of how much money you owe the merchant for picks and shovels, things along the details to that effect. But
So is there like an office work skill check that we could do?
there's actually, yeah, that's what I was gonna have you do is a kingdom lore. I think it's kingdom lore, or if you have any lore, you can try to apply that or society. If you're trained in society, you can use that as well.
Society.
Oh my god.
Well, there you go.
I
Yeah,
got politics.
take it.
Sydney will actually look over all of this and be like, "Hey, you need to sign this." And why? What?
He-
Boss.
Yeah, so many different types of papers that are like mixed together that
Does like
Sydney can
anybody
just
do
pull
this? Like
together.
why are these mixed with, and Sydney will actually instinctually start separating the various things into little piles as she's whatever's within arm reach, and she's not gonna get up or anything. But anything that's in she'll just obsessively go through it and sort it out as it's within her range.
Perfect. Yes, that's right up Sydney's alley. And I think with the warfare lore check for Dallett, Amiri, who was one of your delegates when you were all away, would approach you because you are the general, or you're in command of your basically all of your security and everything. So Amiri will bring to you information amongst the drinks and revelry. Business is being transpired, and she realizes that you don't know about the new recruits. And she says, we've got several new recruits, and several of them are eager to defend our kingdom. And I will have you meet them in the morning. Several of the structures outside have been built by their group, and they seem to be more loyal to the land than Tartuccio, but he has also sweet-talked them into sticking around. I will introduce you to them in the morning.
I'll be awake for it. Be thorough about it. I'll ask if some of the cabins that we saw coming in were theirs. Are they establishing barracks outside?
Yes, those would be theirs. There are several other structures that were being built by some of the tradesmen that we've aligned with. We've made a deal to procure some blacksmithing services and some fletching services. So we have two structures to work on that and they're clustered near the barracks.
Then just to service the soldiers or the entire fort?
For now it is to arm the soldiers because they require it. But ultimately we hope to have enough to supply the whole fort and our broader army. The fletching is benefiting us. We do keep a rotation of 4 archers on watch on the tower level, and we have been able to provide them with training and equipment from the Fletcher that we have as well. That seems to be working well, that agreement.
Sounds like you've been running things well in our absence.
Oh, we have been keeping it together. Certainly, it is good to have you back because I think the kingdom continues to grow, and we'll need you here to help us decide what to do with it. But it's been an honor to serve and to learn about our opportunity. And even with that, maybe she'll point out to you Tartuccio's office that he made. He made his little makeshift office area in here, and you can now see the little shorter desk, and it all makes sense now where he was sitting relative to everyone else. But his desk is covered with other smaller papers that look like they've like handwritten notes that he's just torn off a corner of a paper and written things down on, and it's hard to make sense of what organization method he may have had for anything as you look at it as well. But Vitaly says this is a curious part, and he points down underneath Tartuccio's desk is a little safe, basically, that his desk is sitting on, and the safe is cracked open, and he points to the fact that the safe is empty. I don't know exactly what he kept in it, but this is not all of our coin, but it is odd that he would have left it open.
Do I spend the rest of the night trying to sort out his desk?
Sure, you could try to go through his notes and
Yeah.
take a peek at them, see if you can't unravel anything. Let's see, what else are you guys being approached with here too, as you're looking through that stuff?
I'm gonna largely spend the evening at the table with my feet up as much as possible. But old Kurth here, is he hanging around? Because I'll just start telling him to get me stuff. Bring that pile over here. And tell him to put this pile over here. Just basically make him do all the work.
Kurth is definitely a servant mentality type, and all of the
Spectacular.
kobolds have been that way, so he'll definitely help you
Yeah.
with whatever. He's not particularly good at reading any of it, deciphering
No, he
any of
doesn't
it,
have to read
but
any of
he
it. All
can
he does is
definitely
just like, give
fetch.
me that pile. The pile over there on that
Yeah,
desk. Is that
yeah.
done yet? No, bring that over here. Okay, move this pile over here.
And he would remind you a little bit of a child in the way that he's in awe of you all, that you're back and that you traveled and returned and the things that you've seen. So he would probably be asking you a little bit about your travel, as well as others might start to ask about what did you see in the south? What lies ahead?
Largely, I'm gonna ignore him on that regard and just stay about my business. Sorting the papers. But I'll tell him about the kill tube. I'll tell him not to go by the kill tube.
Okay, so you can speak of the kill tube, which would be a little bit basically like a campfire activity, which we're not doing camping activities, but the same thing would apply that if you take time to tell the story and if you want to do a performance check, you could give everybody a bonus for having told like an invigorating version of events.
Okay. It ain't gonna go well, but we can give it a try.
I know it's not, yeah, that's not probably something you would
I have
be
nothing to add
trained
to it.
in.
That's all dice.
No problem. It's worth doing anyway, but the telling I think is well received. If you do spend time speaking about your travels, you have everybody's attention and a lot of
I'm
people.
really just aiming for Kurth's attention.
Okay.
I'm just, for the most part, just keeping Kurth engaged in the moving of the piles and
Okay.
doing what I ask him to do. At some point in time, I'm going to ask him about some sort of popular gambling game. I don't know, dice or whatever the equivalent of the arrow would be. If he knows of any group or places where that frequently happens.
Oh, I'm sure he knows a thing or two about that. But do you remember, Scott, what Reckla's role was? I was just
Yeah,
looking at that.
so Reckla would probably be discussing with Vitaly,
Okay.
as because he's emissary, so
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
he's worried about the criminal elements, Tartuccio mainly.
I'm asking about the criminal elements as well, but for
I think
totally
everyone
different
has a preoccupation with the criminal
I'm not with
elements.
the fuzz. There's the difference.
The known criminal elements, yeah, and
Hmm.
we don't know what Tartuccio is up to.
And also the way your kingdom will appear to others, the way you'll interact with other kingdoms and those sorts of things too would be your role.
I guess he would be trying to organize with Vitaly to find someone trustworthy to maybe start tracking Tartuccio.
So Let's do a society check for this to see what you guys think about.
Yeah, I'm not trained in society.
Okay. So I think that,
Could it be a diplomacy check in any way?
I mean, it's if you, I think the idea here was more like, would you guys identify?
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
So right now, I think what it is like
Don't
I
have any
think frankly, like
contact.
Vitaly would say, frankly, sir, I don't trust anyone we have currently because I'm not sure who's in his pocket or not. I haven't ferreted all of that out yet.
That's fair.
But if he should return and you wish me to follow him, I would gladly do. But he is cunning. He means
I
not to be
understand.
followed.
Yes, that is what concerns me.
The other thing that we can do is basically through going through all these papers as you're both looking at the notes on Tartuccio's desk and just the general paperwork and things that were laying around in this room, you're able to piece together that you're concerned that there might be a shortfall right now, and I need somebody to one of you could either make a society or a kingdom lore check. So I'll let you decide who you want to do that. I know Reckla's not trained.
Would politics lore count?
Yeah, that would work. That would work if you
Since I'm
choose
kind of
that. That's
familiar
your thing. Yeah.
administration, it's still in a great role. No, there's shit on the dice, but
I haven't made a society roll yet. Let's see how badly mine can go.
oh, there you go.
Better.
There you go.
Better.
Great day.
Okay, so all right, so I would say then it would be through the general that you would discover a shortage, and essentially what you're figuring out amongst all of your receipts and notes is that it looks like basically you've got a really bad deal right now with your blacksmith and your armorer, to where you're paying for and providing all the material costs, but you're not getting the weapons first. You're hoping that they'll make enough for your recruits, and then they'll reach your inner circle here. So I think that you're noticing that not only is that creating a shortage, but it's also one of your biggest expenses. And so it definitely would stick out to you all as not being in your favor. That would be the way to put it.
Maybe I could use some diplomacy to go sign a new contract if they don't respond.
And that's where you get the sense, because you're piecing this together from Dallett's meticulous review of these notes and Sydney's correlating it with the other paperwork, and it's just not adding up. Looks like you're spending a lot more with them than any benefit you're receiving. So that definitely would be like something you would want to attend to. And again, this would be something you could do in the morning. Again, I'm just assuming you guys are all kind of pouring through everything this first evening.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sydney's just happy to be alive and back in civilization. So
Yeah. This would be probably the first shelter you've had in a bit. First real structure.
I think Sydney should be the treasurer for the kingdom, because if any money goes missing, we'll know exactly who took it.
short investigation. We have to make it frequently, but at least it's short.
It's just a book with a mirror inside of it. So I guess the two other things then that we can roll for, these are all kingdom activities that we're doing, would be a perception check for probably Dallett, or anyone can do this, but it's definitely like one that Dallett would be leading, because this is dealing with security for the structure. There you go. So I think what you notice is, Dallett, that now that you're a little bit suspicious of the blacksmith and you don't know these new recruits yet, when you're on the roof and you see where the archers are positioned, you notice that they don't seem to be paying any attention to them. And I think that you decide that that you want someone to be keeping an eye on them to see what they're doing, to make sure that things are as they should be. So you're able to assign a scout to keep their eyes on their tents and just to let you know if anything suspicious occurs.
Mm.
So yeah, so I think that would be what your perception would point out. And then the last thing for whoever wants to roll a d20, this is a stability check.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Sydney's a debility.
oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
oh.
you
All right.
want to
Sydney's a
point that?
debility.
I'm gonna 0 point that.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, that sounds like fun.
All right, let's see what befalls us here. Okay. All right, what we'll do is I'll take that into account. I'll take that into account for something that'll be coming up. But for the evening, you guys go pretty late into the evening. You filled yourself up with food and drink and done a bunch of paperwork that took you all like a couple of hours, and now you might be getting to the point that you're ready to rest. And you've been shown to basically you can use the Stag Lord's quarters. We'll say that it's been arranged with more beds in it so that it can accommodate your full group size. So you're welcome to stay there and get your rest. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to do for the evening before we?
Yeah, Sydney, even if I had to duck out early on the paperwork, which is maybe why Dallett was leading the charge on that, I'm definitely going to go roll some dice or whatever the equivalent there is of. She will excuse herself to the restroom at some point in time and probably not come back and go wherever Kurth told her they were gambling.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you can make your way up into this corridor over here, and you'll see that they'll have a crate turned over, and they're throwing bones onto a crate, rolling dice and making bets. Several, looks like mostly hunters, but there's a couple of kobolds in here as well. So you see them all engaging in this, and you're welcome to roll the dice as well if you'd like to test
Well,
the
I'll
dice.
definitely throw dice a couple times, but I'm more to a meet and greet actually. I'm gonna chit chat people up and just take part in the frivolity of the whole situation.
Nice. Okay.
Before the night is over, I'm gonna see if anyone has a set of lockpicks that I can buy off of them,
Try.
or if they know somebody that I would be able to obtain said item from.
How about a diplomacy check on that? I think that would
Okay,
be a good way to
no
test.
problem. Now that one I'll reroll.
Hero point that?
Yep, I'm gonna hero point that because I really feel like
Okay.
Time to get those block picks.
I gotta get them. I forgot to pick them up, or they disappeared on me. Here we go.
Okay, much better.
There we
And yeah, so that's actually more than just the availability of the lockpicks. I think what you are able to start to do by spending time with them is you're getting a little bit of a sense of the divide. Some of these hunters don't like the name New Brevoy, and some of the non-hunters are using that as a way to rib them, and you could get a little bit of sense of some tension underneath between these different groups that are here in the room, to the point that you feel like they could definitely scrap, or it could get ugly if somebody said the wrong thing at the wrong time. But for the most part, as you're in the room, people are on their best behavior, and the game seems to be on the up and up. And you learn that you can pick up some tools that say from one of these scouts who's in the room. If you slip them guess it's let's see, how much is it in the?
They are 3 gold piece.
Okay, so yeah, I think
It's just the base tool one.
think then that for 3 gold they would them available to you.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll purchase those, and I will throw down on them both twice.
So
I'll wager another 10 gold. Put 10 gold up or something. I don't know.
you want to put 10 gold up? 10 gold would be a
Yeah,
heavy bet though. Okay, all right.
over the evening, or I guess over a
Okay.
couple rolls, right?
Okay,
Right.
so you're
Like
willing.
I'd be willing
You're willing
Yeah,
to
the
use
lower
that as
sector.
your gambling budget for the evening. Okay, then I'll
Right.
if you're gonna do it that way, I'll have you roll a percentile,
Okay.
and we'll
Yeah, I don't want to
see
like sit
how
here
you
and
did over
time with
time
her. But she would,
versus.
yeah, she would absolutely take part. And I imagine as part of her like endearing the folk to her. Plus, she just likes to roll.
Okay. Yeah. In this case, you actually are making a couple of coins throughout the night, enough that you've got your 3 gold back that you paid for your thieves' tools.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And like I said, the group starts to separate. You can see some of the ones who are linked together walk off together as they're not having any luck. They say, "Ah, the
I
luck's
mean,
not
makes
with
sense.
us." And a couple of them walk off, and so some of the tension in the room kind of eases once you realize that those different parties are gone. But again, you could roll dice all night. Anybody else?
No, no, she'll call it in a reasonable time. She ain't gonna all the way all night. Once she gets her lock picks and gets set up and watch it. I will encourage the people who don't like the name New Gravois to use the name that Reckla had mentioned earlier for the fort. Was it like Stagfall or Staghaven or something like that?
I think they're talking about the kingdom.
Yeah, no, I know, but they're I just gonna suggest because that's as much as
Oh, I
what
see
Sydney
what you're
paid
saying.
attention to the conversation. Just to give them an alternative that they could rib back the other way, and we'll just let bygones be
I'll
bygones.
I'll include that in your diplomacy roll that you suggested that. Okay, so you guys can make your way into. I'll move you guys into the Stag Lord quarters, the old resting
I was gonna
place.
say Reckla may have wanted to check out some of the traders to see just what's available. If there's anything unique or interesting, especially because what he needs supply-wise is alchemical supplies.
Alchemical supplies. We usually go to the Magister for that. And which is our Tartuccio. So like they're scratching their heads when you talk about alchemical supplies. They don't
No
seem
worries.
to know a
I figured
source.
not
But
take a trip all the way back.
if there are other goods, common goods that you're looking for, some of those things would be available. So if anyone's needing resupply on common goods, some of those things are available here, and others would be available in the morning when you're at your. So if there's nothing else, you all can get a full night's rest, and I think you're all mostly fully healed for the most part anyway, but you are fully rested. And the next morning, you're actually awoken at one point to the sound of screaming and loud voices early in the morning, and you can hear it echoing from the front of the fort.
Angry screaming or like getting stabbed screaming?
Sound like more like the former, yeah, more anger and raised
Okay.
voices than.
Not my
Yeah.
monkeys, not my circus. She'll actually say that as she rolls back over because she might have a bit of a hangover in the morning. She ain't. She definitely took the bed.
Yeah, let's see. I think you'll at one point or another the voices will get louder, and let's see. Intervene here. Vitaly will come to your quarters during this, and he'll say, "Do you want me to deal with this?" And he's kind of looks like he's rubbing his eyes like he just rolled off a rock and was woken by disturbed by the same thing. He checks with you kind of just instinctively because he's not used to having all of the command here, so he does check with you before he intervenes, and he says there seems to be a disagreement about names and labels, and frankly I don't give a damn, but
If there's not a crime being committed, I don't know. I guess I should go see.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, I'll get Reckla will get up and head out with Vitaly.
Yeah, I'll go with two just to hear them out. See what they're saying.
all right. So you guys can all make your way towards the front gate over here as you are heading out and into this area. Approaching the gate, the voices are getting louder and louder, and that's when you see a group of huntsmen squaring off with some of the kobolds. And it's like as soon as you turn the corner, it looks like they were about to like escalate, but your arrival makes them pause, and they're all looking at you for a moment with brought their voice level down. Who is anyone going to address them, or did you all want Vitaly to address them?
I think Reckla would speak up and say, "There's been enough bloodshed within these walls. Let's save the animosity for those who deserve it."
Do you want to try a diplomacy check?
Can I assist him with some intimidation? No, never mind.
Ooh, I mean, you can always intimidate for
Could go with
sure, but I
diplomacy, yeah.
think his words were enough in this case to the intimidation didn't quite work.
Too early in the
No.
morning for Dallett. He's not. He
Yeah,
just looks like a teddy bear in the
it's like he
morning.
looks down and his armor's on backwards. They don't respect me. But yeah, so basically you can tell that the kobolds respect you immediately, Reckla, enough that they de-escalate, and the huntsmen, when they see the de-escalation, do as well. And I think it would be Sydney who would notice that these are some of the people who were gambling the prior evening, so there might be other dynamics in play here. But let's see, am I losing everybody?
I had to refresh.
Okay, I just saw Roll20 kind of flash out, and but anyway, you guys do get this de-escalated. It does not spill over into bloodshed at the moment, but again, you can sense some of the discontent, and for the most part, looks like it's calm. So this morning, I assume you're going to head out and speak with your blacksmith and armorer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll join them on that. I imagine Sydney will show up right about the time the action dies down from the fighting up there, still with rubbing sleep out of her eyes. Hey, what's up, boss?
All right,
Nothing
so
two choice words couldn't fix.
you can make your way through the gates. I know Ben stepped away for a second, but Dallett is certainly with you and headed out to inspect the structures here in the morning hours. You can have I think once again, Vitaly may have brought you tea in the morning before he was ready to knock some heads. So you can all be walking around out here with your warm tea, inspecting these groups that are occupying your land. And what you notice are several different groups. You see the supply tents where the blacksmith has set up his forge and equipment, and an armor smith next to him. There's a group of people working together even at this hour that look like they're gathering materials, and they're already heating the forge. Um, Next to them there is some carpentry going on where they're chopping some wood and beginning the process of providing wood for both the forge and the arrows and other equipment. So all of those things pass the test, so to speak, that they seem to be functioning. And let's see what else is out here. The barracks that you notice, there are 8 men in one of the barracks is the count that you get, and looks like there's one of them keeping watch at all times outside their barracks while the others are either out and about or resting. There's another section that's away from this area that has smaller tents and seems to be like some different random groups there. They look less like tradespeople and more commoners. I mean, really, frankly, to you, you don't know what skills they have or where they're from, maybe their families, but there's several of them spread around not far from the barracks.
Squatters. You got squatters.
Yeah.
I would say taxable population.
All right, so let's speak with the blacksmith first.
Okay.
Reckla will approach the blacksmith. Does he knows his name from the documents? I take it.
Yeah, I think you would. I think others would have told you his name as well by now. Let me find that real quick here. And there's actually, yeah, several people working. If you've got like a crafting background, you would probably be able to pick out who the head of the operation is, like with one quick look. Otherwise, you might ask around. There you go. All right, so You basically see again that they're looks like they're setting up shop for the day, and his name is Garrick.
So Reckla will approach Garrick and introduce himself, basically saying, I know your name, but you really should know my name as well, and I'm not sure that you do. My name is Reckla Phantasma, and I have recently come to light that our agreement with you and your services may not be the most efficient or beneficial for us, for all of us, yourself included.
I see. It's nice to meet you. Of course, I thought for a second you were a different gnome, but of course you're not that gnome. You're this gnome. And interesting that what have you consulted with Tartuccio?
No, Tartuccio has abandoned his post.
Oh, I'm sure he will be returning soon. He said he was.
Oh, I wouldn't trust him. He has a way with words.
Oh, I see. Try a what kind of check do you want to do there for that to see if that's convincing or not? I think
Mm,
either like diplomacy or society, or I don't know if there's another one.
I guess he would be trying diplomacy with a tradesman, diplomatically say you should trust me and
Yeah,
not Tartuccio.
I'll give you a +1 because of your crafting background as well, that you might be able to use that to. Okay. So he says for a moment, and he says the little guy always seems to find some silver lining for himself. I would agree, but he's been good to me and opened new business for me that I would not otherwise have. What is it that
That's
needs
understandable.
fixing?
I think our capabilities are being hindered by this current agreement. I think your reach could go further if we adjust the supply chain a little. You'll still receive your materials and have all the orders you can keep up with.
But ore is not the easiest thing to supply.
This
What
is why we are creating new roads to mines as we speak.
what of the silver
What
is
of it?
a if you could supply me with a steady supply of silver, I could produce some finer weapons more quickly.
That sounds like an ideal situation, as we are less than a mile away from establishing a road to our silver mines.
Bring me this silver and I will craft weapons for more hands than you have.
Sounds like a perfect solution. Shall I tear this contract up and draw up the new one?
I see no reason not to work with you. I trust that you'll resolve this with Tartuccio in the future, at a future date.
Yes, I trust that we shall.
Very well then. And with that, of course, he'll be able to shift his operations to work with the silver when you guys deliver that. And Vitaly's with you, so Vitaly takes note, and he says, "The first cart to pass shall be loaded to the rails with silver. I will see to it." So you've resolved
Now,
this, and if anyone is needing, he looks around and says, "Now that my day is cleared up, if anyone's needing a touch-up or two, sharpening, we'd be glad to take care of you."
I'll ask if he could mend my Aldori dueling sword.
Ah, fine weapon. It would be an honor. We will gladly work on it. And
Thank-
yeah, he gets the whole forge going on the repair as they start to try to find some comparable material to patch it with. And you can see that they seem encouraged by the fact that they're dealing with the lot of you versus the one of Tartuccio. So you get a good response from them and they'll begin to work on it. It'll take them a few hours to get the repair done, but ultimately, when you return to pick up your sword, you're able to see that they've patched it, and it's not perfect. It's certainly not the quality that it once was, but it is impressive to you how good of a job they've done in the time that you gave them. And they say that with more time we could do better, but we wanted to give you something to make sure you had a weapon.
Much appreciated. I will. Let me see what my inventory, which money I have. How many people are there?
4.
Oh, I'll give them a gold each.
Ah, that goes a long way. Yeah, they definitely react
Yeah.
to that because they're not getting paid every day for sure. In the arrangement that they have to Reckless point, this is definitely a better arrangement. They grin back at you and pocket your coin and clean their gear. It might be during that time that one of your militiamen, volunteers, your new brigade, so to speak, approaches and sees you all conducting business at the blacksmith. And so he'll approach you all and introduce himself. And his name is Sonid. And he says, "It's just a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you all. From where do you return?"
From the south. Where do we go?
And
The Lonely Barrow.
the Lonely Barrow.
Yeah. From the Lonely Barrow. Down by, what was that? Not the Shrike River.
Yes, was the
Yeah.
strike.
Well, Shrike. Okay.
Oh, so you have gone beyond. You have gone south of the Shrike River. That is further than I imagined you would travel in such time. And the the road ahead, was it filled with bandits?
It was filled with all sorts of dangers. Bandits, cultists, owl bears.
And at this point, Vitaly will he says, "Sonid, excuse me, but this is Dallett, our general." And at that, he knew he was speaking to an official just from the way you were all gathered and carrying yourselves, but knowing that you're the general, he stands up straight and looks like a little bit embarrassed that he was speaking to the general so informally. And he looks at you and says, we are excited to serve you, sir. And many of my friends have not traveled far from here. Your tale of the South is inspiring, but whatever threats awaited you, I fear will come for us here.
Many things. Do you think you'll be ready for those threats if they come here?
We are close to being supplied. Several of the group are fully armored and ready to fight on coming threats, but our training is lacking, frankly. And we could certainly use some sharpening up on our skills. If there's any particular threat that you feel we should ready for, perhaps I could train them on how to deal with it.
I'm trying to remember if anything was even coming this way. Oh, that dude.
Lord
No.
Verlon.
Yeah. But I don't think he was.
Lord Vorlon.
Yeah,
We don't know if he's coming this way.
He's going south. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going south.
And I think the cultists are probably localized down there.
Yeah. I was thinking.
That was spreading. That was definitely spreading, right? Because
Yeah, no, the cultists are a concern.
you
The
saw
cultists
them
are
in the mines, and they weren't. I don't think they were in the mines that long.
That's true. But yeah, the cultists. The undead.
Yeah. I guess I'll tell him to keep an eye out for the death cultists.
Oh, you know what?
And
address the zombie field that was nearby?
I don't think so, no. I was thinking about that and like the Chimera Den.
The thing is that there's a cemetery to the northwest of the fort. And that field is completely barren. Nobody's set up anything out there. You know that there's wandering dead in that field, particularly at night, but somehow or other these folks have found a way to evade that threat and pretty much stay in their structures throughout the night and avoid that area. But it is definitely still there. That has not been eliminated.
like wooden spike fence it in or something.
Yeah.
And I think that
You can
this
turn it into a zoo.
well, Garrick would also say that the silver weapons will help as well with your undead.
Before we finish up or anything, I want to arrange some training time with Sonnet for the rest of the militia. Show them some sword forms or something.
Yeah, and if you're telling them about the cultists maybe and explaining
Yeah.
the speed of the cultists and the best strike to use, yeah, you could
Yeah.
definitely spend some time training them. Let's see how effective of a training you give them.
I'd like to give him aid on this if I can.
Okay. That's
Or
definite.
maybe
You can
just
do that.
would guidance work if I cast guidance on him? Or is this a
I
different
don't
action?
know. I'm not sure the exact phrasing of guidance, to be honest with you, how that works. But you could do, might be a number of things you could do here, like athletics. You could
Yeah.
maybe put on like an athletic display, and again maybe build into their muscle memory the movements. You know, that might work.
I'm not gonna
Oh
participate.
wow. Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm not gonna participate,
Hey.
but I'm gonna yell and watch from the side and yell things about them as a cult, like what they're doing. Yeah, not shoot.
You're just yelling
Yeah,
out
it's
random.
like he like thinks he's like making up fake insults, but he's like hurling real insults at them.
At least they'll have good combat skills to go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Solid, they'll be athletics.
So you might be confusing them more than anything, but the actual technique is being learned, and I think it would be noticeable after a little while that they're all picking it up. And again, you're dealing with some really inexperienced fighters here, but after just a small short session of showing them the movements and seeing the weapons that they have as well allows you to train them on how to deal with cultists specifically, but also just how to handle their weapon better. And I think seeing the general demonstrate these things like directly in front of them would be an inspiring event. And despite the heckling that's going on from the sideline,
That's really what it turned into. Yeah.
so yeah, so definitely Sonnet and his gang are looking more capable. They don't seem to be they didn't seem to be bothered by any of the new arrangement with the blacksmith either. Like you don't get the sense that they were probably in on any deal there. They just seem like they're greenhorn fighters looking for a cause to fight for, and they've
Yep.
somehow stumbled onto your. All right, yeah. So basically, you've got them trained. You've got your sword fixed as well. So it might be cool that Dallett, for the first time, is able to swing the Aldori sword and test it out, and it definitely is strong. It seems to be well repaired for now.
Yep, solid sword.
Anything else that anyone wanted to tend to while you're in and around camp here?
I wouldn't expect that there's any merchants with magic items or anything like that, is there?
No,
Market,
but
just-
you do notice if you do detect magic, which I assume you would around the
Yeah, for
um,
what it's worth, I try to keep the detect magic, my concentration on it as much as possible.
yeah, you notice that Garrick is wearing gloves that are glowing as if they're magical. So that would be the only thing that would have stood out to you. But yeah, otherwise you guys can get fed and taken care of here. You get treated pretty nicely now that you've got like a full complement of roles and responsibilities across your larger population. One of the other things that you haven't fully resolved would be the discontent, I should say, with between the kobolds and the hunters. And so it might occur to you that giving the hunters and the kobolds something else to do other than gambling all the time might be good. You might notice these might be like Sydney's observations after spending the night watching how much time they had, and the fact that none of them really seemed to be like contributing like these guys. Like these soldiers seemed ready to take an arrow for you, and yet the hunters and the kobolds didn't look like they had figured out what their contribution was. So that might be another thing that you think of, is to task them and spend time with one or the other to get them. Or
I wonder if there's any way. Does anyone have any ideas about how we might be able to use one of these groups to get the road crews to work harder?
I
No.
don't imagine kobolds are known for their work ethic.
Yeah.
they're not too strong, but they're good gophers. They can deliver supplies. So one of the things was that you're short on
Yeah,
supplies,
tools.
and
Yeah, the blacksmith could get started on the tools. Since he's not making weapons or anything anymore, he's waiting for the silver. He's got a wood supply. They can make handles. Give him like shovels or something. Then they'll have pickaxes and shovels.
I think
Are the Sootscale Mines are they operational right now, even without the road?
they're not operational in the sense that you don't have anyone in there mining
Yeah, it's
right
not
now,
Yeah.
but you do have access to do it. Yeah.
And somebody had done a
Yeah.
little bit of mining to establish like what resources it had available. There was
Right.
prospecting aspects of it because we saw like some ore
Yeah.
that had been dug up.
Buldarius actually found a silver vein in the Sootscale Mines when you were there. So you've exposed it. It's just that you haven't allocated anybody to work on that yet. Yeah, that's another possibility, right? Maybe the kobolds could help with that, but yeah, I think you're starting to figure out some of the solutions here around reallocating the blacksmith's time towards creating the tools and using your kobolds and hunters to help speed along some of that stuff.
I'm gonna tell all the kobold scouts. I'm not gonna tell Vitaly this, but I'm gonna tell all the kobold scouts at some point in time. I'm just gonna be like hanging out and be like, look, if you take a tool out onto the road and you see somebody that isn't working and doesn't have a tool, you take it to them, bring it to them, and Vitaly will give you a silver piece.
Oh man, yeah, I think every broken and cracked tool that's laying around, they'll go pick them up.
Yeah, just anything.
Yeah.
Anything useful. Just go.
Nice.
And then now it's Vitaly's problem.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I like it. Yeah, so you've got them, yeah, definitely helping you speed that along, and Vitaly will help organize the fact that the silver starts to get extracted and brought to the blacksmith. So you guys feel good about the fact that you found a good solution for that. You've de-escalated some of the tension. You're always going to be reminded in most of your conversations that people are calling your settlement different things. The blacksmith is calling it New Brevoy, and so are the soldiers, the new soldiers that you have. Depends on where they're from as to what they're calling it, probably. But
Right.
Yeah, the hunters are what are the hunters calling it? They're not calling it anything.
they were calling it Stagfall. For the most
Stagfall.
part, they were just more rejecting the New Brevoy name.
Yeah,
that
right,
didn't sit.
right.
So, what else would you all like to tend to as the day moves along? Looks like your shop is in order to me, unless there's anything else anyone needed to attend to.
Oh, do we want to set the hunters up on sectioning off the field?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, give them a job. Busy too.
That is a good idea. Yeah, you could have them trap. What, are you gonna do, spikes or something like that?
I was thinking just a
Yeah.
fence, just keep people out of there.
Yeah, just something to denote it as a dangerous area.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
something we can deal with later,
Yeah,
but keep it secure for now.
Here we go. Here we go. We tell the kobolds to take the tools to the people on the roads. Then from there, they get their silver from Vitaly by going directly to the mine and taking a rock of silver. Then they have to get a rock of silver. And then they bring it back here and give it to the blacksmith.
He's
And
gonna
the
have to.
blacksmiths make a spike out of it and give it to the hunters. And the hunters can start fucking.
I think that really that at some point that would maybe even get joked about, but the blacksmith would say, and you might perk up his interest, that he can mint coins for you for your
Yes.
kingdom, and
Oh.
whatever name you would like to emblazon upon them or symbol, he can work on that as well. That's
This is how
another
they
good
get their
idea.
coin.
Guys, we
I'm
need
just
like
gonna. They're a bunch of crack fiends for it now. They carry a tool out, get a silver rock, bring it back. They'll give you a coin.
we need a little kingdom name brainstorming session or something.
Yeah.
We
I
can
support
make a
Stagfall.
poll and drop it in the Discord.
What about Tartuccio?
Tartuccio.
All right, so it sounds like then most of your business is squared away for the day. You guys can wind down and spend more time. Again, I assume you've been interacting with all these groups and as many people as you can throughout the day, maximizing your time while the sword was being repaired and the training was being done. Even again, I think that there's some level of urgency in heading back to Restov is the reason why you're trying to cram all this into a single day. But you could certainly spend more days really solidifying the operation here. But I leave it to
Well,
you
I
to
mean,
decide.
at this point, I guess we're still, Reckla's still in need of supplies, and we haven't gotten any correspondence or knowingly gotten any correspondence from Lady Jamandi back yet. And Voldarius had left with that letter. At this point, I would think it's at least a week, probably longer in game,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it's probably getting closer to 2. Yeah,
But yeah, I think it behooves us to get to
Restov.
Restov.
Okay. Then
I understood that
Let's
to be
continue that way.
the likely follow up. Yeah.
so let me
No veto here for sure.
I'll go back to the map, and I think this is where there are horses in the fort, so you could definitely procure faster transportation. But just as a reminder, the fort, let's see, 1, 2, 3, it'd be 4 days travel by foot or 2 days by horse. Yeah, almost
Wait,
5
we can
days,
grab some
really.
horses.
Yeah, I think we got to do the horses.
Okay, so it is the 3 of you, and just double checking. Okay, so yeah, so Vitaly speaks with the stable master and says, "Prepare 3 horses for our council to head to Restov immediately." And they
Are
begin
we
to.
still taking off this night, or are we hanging out for a night?
Yeah, that's I guess what they would be asking next is, when do you plan to depart? In the
How urgent
morning
are we
or?
leaving? I'm fine going.
Yeah, let's just go now.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Let's hit it. We're leaving.
All right, so you all get horses prepared and you head on out of the fort. Vitaly starting to get the group organized that's heading south with him towards the Sootscales while you're loading up to head towards Restov. And let's see, go back to the map. Here we go. So you guys are actually all the way up here now. There you are. And you're heading out of the fort past the eastern bandit camp, where actually, because you had left later in the day, it starts to get dark as you're getting close to that
I was gonna
bandit
say,
camp. And
much-
yeah, and you're actually able to, for those of you who were at the bandit camp before, you're able to retrace your steps as you're going that direction. You remember the spot in the woods beside the trail where you had seen that ceremony or ritual, the remnants of that, and you followed footprints all the way back through into an opening ultimately back there that was being used to go into the fort. So that would all come back to you. You would be able to retrace your steps and return to this bandit camp east, which I can rename now or eventually to be your camp. And as you arrive, you actually see that there are people there. There is a fire lit as you ride up, and around the campsite, 3 humans sitting, and it looks like they've already eaten, and they're just sitting and warming their boots around the fire as you ride up. One of them will stand up and say greetings, and just noticing you, looking you guys up and down. There must be some sign, some symbols that you're wearing that would be potentially familiar, but I don't know for sure. Does anybody display anything that would be recognizable? Since you don't have a Stag Lord helmet or anything like that on, I'm not sure
I
if there's
think
any
the
other
only
distinct.
the distinct thing about Reckla's clothing is he's got a dark cloak that's got like some sparkling star like gems and stuff on it.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
and he's got a little bit of cosmic imagery on it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Sydney is absolutely plain Jane. There are no distinguishing marks whatsoever. Remarkably
The sword might
unremarkable.
give me away.
You have the Outdoory sword, yeah. So that's like definitely a big giveaway that you're allied with them because
Yeah.
they would notice that. So that's probably the number one thing amongst all of you that gives you recognition. And in this setting, it helps to ease everybody, and they invite you into their campfire. You would have the opportunity, since you don't have to look for anything, you would have the opportunity to do multiple camping activities if you choose to take advantage of the extra time, or if you just want to turn in or do whatever else. But you could gather
Sydney would
resources.
probably just turn it in. She'll offer to take a watch if they need somebody to take a watch, but
Reckla will gather supplies.
Do my best to camouflage the camp.
So I think that's
Survival.
camouflage the camp,
Yeah,
or at least camouflage where you're going to be sleeping. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Might be too big to camouflage the whole thing.
Or I could ask them if they know any special meals.
Ooh,
Might be better.
Okay.
pick up some new recipes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's see if you're searching for. Did you already roll to forage?
No.
Okay. I like this one. Okay, so I think having noticed your cosmic attire, one of them might suggest he says to you that I do know it's more of a dessert, but it's called the Stargazer because you can carry it with you when you go to look at the stars at night, and it's a great dessert.
Nice.
And it is basically like a roasted apple stuffed with berries and honey and crumbled biscuits on it, and cooked until it's caramelized. So he teaches you that. He teaches you the Stargazer, and
Nice.
you're able to add that to your special recipe list.
It says because of a critical success, recover half the ingredients you had to expend to attempt this activity.
Oh, yeah, so it would have been, what is it, 6 or 5 ingredients per serving. So you would have been cooking, let's just say 15 for you guys,
Mhm.
and that means that you would consume less than 15. You would consume
Half.
yeah,
Cool.
7 then, yeah. And basically it will give, when eaten, it gives +1 bonus to perception checks and survival checks.
All right, hold on a second.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's called the Stargazer.
So you've now got probably a handful of recipes.
Yeah,
I think,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, what was the bonus for that again?
It is +1 to perception checks and survival checks. At night is the catch on that. It has to be at night. The stars have to be visible, or at least in the sky.
Got it. Yeah, this is the third recipe that we have that we've got the whole bonuses for.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you guys are able to learn a new recipe, tell some stories, rest by the fire, and eat some stargazers. And anything else anyone wanted to do before turning in for the evening?
No.
One of the folks here by the camp will be a little bit nosy, I think, and ask, which way do you head in the morning?
the Restov. We've left Fort Sorrenco or whatever
To
it's being
Restov.
called these days. Stagfall.
Stagfall. Or
Stagfall.
Oh, yes. I told you it was called Stagfall, not Nubravoy. And one of the others will say, oh, it did pass one of your kind, looking at Reckla.
Ah,
We are,
unfortunately, he is of my kind.
they'll maybe giggle at that, chuckle at that joke, and they'll say that we've made our way from Restov as well. We are heading towards the fort and beyond. And we saw this purple-haired gnome several days back. What was it? Tartuccio.
Yes, and how did he appear to be in good spirits?
Oh, he seemed to be on business. He seemed to be less engaging than yourselves. We did not get the opportunity to speak much with him, but he asked us of Restov and any rumors and seemed interested in their politics, which we try to steer clear of, but that place is dripping in it.
Aye, that it is. Was he traveling alone?
He was, but he said he was meeting some folks south of Restov,
I see.
and that he would be returning to the fort in several days. That he was on a supply mission of some sort. He did ask questions of the merchants and trades in Restov, but again, it was a quick exchange several days back now. But I'm sure you'll bump into him. As small as he is, he's hard to miss.
I'm
So,
sure our paths will cross soon enough.
all right. So you all can basically, I'll roll to see if there's any bumps in the night first.
And I'll be taking one of those watches. To just get up and join the watch.
Okay. All right. I'm just gonna, just randomly
Yep.
assign you guys here since you've got a couple of NPCs too. Let's see. One of the rumors I'm gonna have them give you. One of the humans speaks to you of some beasts to the north, and he says they are centaurs eating humans.
Are centaurs normally known to eat humans?
I don't know if you could probably do a nature check if anyone has nature or.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. It sounds pretty unusual to you, Reckla, that centaurs would eat humans. It's not something that you believe to be true.
Yeah.
One of these humans seems pretty adamant about it and tells that as a bedtime story, but he seems convicted like it's true, and
Yeah.
you don't get the sense that that would be normal if
Right.
or if he's telling
I'm
the
not
truth.
going to discourage him from that.
But yeah, it looks like the other guys hearing about it look like they're like convinced as well, and it definitely occupies some space in their mind as he brings it up. But again, I think just from your instinct, it doesn't sound right to you. What he's saying sounds like maybe it's a tall tale that's stretched over time.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, you do get some rest, and the night goes by uneventfully. And yeah, when you awaken, the three who were there are maybe heating some food up over the fire. Maybe one of the stargazers they saved and are warming it up over the fire and getting ready to get back on the road. They are traveling by foot. They basically will say goodbye to you that morning as they head off. And you guys could continue to make your way towards Restov. Let's see.
Yep, hit the road.
All right, so let's see. I'm just gonna roll to see if there's any other interactions for the day. But it's really rolling hills, farmland that's in this section. Less plains and more rolling hills and farmland, which where you came from, and particularly to the south, all the way by the Shrike River, was plains as far as you could see, and tall grass and grasslands, low-lying water and swampy areas as well. And up here in this area, again, it's definitely green rolling hills, farmland, and you starting to get more towards the outskirts of Brevoy. But before you get too far along the road, you actually see ahead um, a little settlement on the road that you may. I don't think any of you have been to this, or at least we didn't role play anything in this location initially. If you passed through it, I just don't remember. But
I
no,
think there was some confusion about how we were navigating that first time we were traveling or something.
yeah, I think I leaped through some of the travel. Basically, I skipped over some of the travel to get you there. So it's Nivakta's Crossing. Looking for. There's like a whole thing on it. Let me see if I can find it. It's a small settlement, is what I recall, and I think it will have some merchants in it. So I want to make sure I find it. Give you guys a chance if there's anything you wanted to track down. Here we go. Okay, yeah, so it is a little outpost where there's traders, hunters, fishermen, trappers, and a small village that's surrounded by a wooden palisade, and it's basically set on the bank of the river. So there's like a low bridge that allows you to cross over the river to the wilderness to the south, but this is all to the north side of the river. Let's see. The bridge itself has 2 guard towers on it, and it appears to be manned. So that section that opens up to the south appears to have watchful eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
The people of Nivatka's Crossing are sturdy, down to earth, and possess stunted senses of humor, serious to a fault, and they are slightly more suspicious of visitors from what they call the South, which is from where you're coming. But they are still willing speak with and trade with anyone. What else is there? Nivatka's Crossing, the settlement itself, and you reach the entryway, you'll see that there are some mercenaries that appear to be watching the entryway to the city. And as you approach, one of them will flag you down. And who would be in front speaking on behalf of the group?
I'd probably be in front.
Okay. Good day to you, sir. My name is Magar, and I am hired to keep a watchful eye on this peaceful settlement. Do you and your party come in peace?
We come in peace. We came from the west, formerly at Fort Sorrenco, now Fall. We're on our way to Restov.
Ah, Stagfall. I've heard that one recently. And I suppose you had something to do with this.
We may have had a little bit to do with it.
He says, my mercenaries will not bother you, but we will uphold peace in the village. So we ask that you keep your swords sheathed and your weapons away while you're here. And I'm sure you will have a wonderful time in our settlement. Let's see. Let me have you make a diplomacy check, Ben, for Dallett's interaction, just to see how they.
As soon as I can remember how to read.
So I think that, yeah, the way that you carry yourself and the mentioning of the fort really gets a good response from Magar. And he begins to tell you, he says, I know you have many things on your plate these days as your kingdom grows, but I will mention to you that there's been some chatter in town about the future of your kingdom and what it will mean to Nivatka's Crossing. It might be good for you to meet with the mayor or others in town to put their minds at ease.
Yes, that
Thank
is
you.
certainly what we're here to do.
Then enjoy your stay. And with that, he'll nod as you pass by, taking taking a close look again at what you're carrying, surveying your gear and whatnot, but it lets you pass and you're able to move into town. And let's see, within Nivatka's crossing, is there a map for this? That would be cool if there were. Probably not.
Be
Let's
a
see.
lot cooler if there was.
Yeah, no, there's not one for this little town, but there's a little write-up. So I know some of the people who are here, basically, and I'll just give you the read here off that diplomacy roll. Population of the town is probably somewhere between 125 to 150 people at any given point, mainly human. However, there is a smattering of gnomes and dwarves here that you would notice, and particularly in the crafting areas in the crafting district, they would be more noticeable there. But there are otherwise a lot of folks here. The village is peaceful as you arrive. Anything you'd like to seek out while you're here? I know you're basically going to be looking for stay at the inn.
Yeah, and yeah, Reckla would definitely want to reach out to the leadership in the area to let them know of our progresses and how we can best align our goals.
Yeah, so basically when you head in from the river towards the center of town, you see a couple of weathered statues of Brevik soldiers that are standing in various spots along the pathway as you're walking. So at first it might be a little bit strange at first that you see all these almost like ghostly figures, but it turns out that they are Brevik soldiers. These different statues look like they were made quite a long time ago. And as you pass those, you see some small stalls that are set up at the end of the roadway for merchants. And let's see, I guess one of the things that he would have warned you about is that there are taxes to be paid in town. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you are approached by a tax collector, that it's probably not a scam. So you might need to speak with the tax collector if the tax collector approaches you. So he gives you like a warning that there's a tax collector about and that they may randomly tax you. But other than that, you feel pretty at ease here, and you are able to locate it's an inn called the Crossing House, and it's pretty much near the edge of town, close to the direction you came in. You can hear the warm atmosphere inside as you're here in the streets, and it's at dusk. So I leave it to you to decide what you'd like to get into, if any.
Other merchants, is it
hmm
anything like exotic or is it just like tools and such?
No, it looks like a pretty eclectic supply of goods and wares for sale. So definitely some interesting things, not just all common goods.
Anything that pinged off of detect magic?
Let's see.
'Cause that's probably what would catch our attention, if anything.
Yeah, one of the merchants has some jewelry that he's selling, and you notice a couple of the pieces of jewelry, a necklace and a ring that appear to be magical.
Yeah, I'll talk to that. That will always get Sydney's attention. I just imagine that she like has that up and would like would quickly peruse over the table, right? And they, like if nothing pings, like nothing pings, but if something pinged, it would grab her attention. Not that she would like fully identify it and do all that shit, but it would just catch her attention.
And as you look through it, you see a dwarven merchant, uh, older fella, kind of reaching for his cane, and he stands up and he says, "I see you have an eye for the shiny and the jewelry. What what could I interest you in?"
I just saw this piece and I just what is it? What am I holding? You said like a necklace? There was a
Uh,
necklace that
there's
pinged.
there's a necklace and a ring. Which one do you want
So
to?
that I'll hold up the necklace and I'll hold it up and she'd just be like, "No, I just really like it." I was just, "What is it?" And just playing dumb.
Let's see. So it basically appears as a silver chain with a pendant on it that's shaped like a teardrop. And
Okay.
as he's looking at it, he says, "Ah, you have fine taste. That is no ordinary trinket. It is a necklace that can whisper to its wearer. I don't meddle with such things, but I am
Whisper
told
what? Tell whispers.
I don't know. Something from the land will whisper to the wearer from what I was told by the druid who sold it to me.
How much?
Let's see. Let's see. Good question. I couldn't let it go for less than 200. It's a
I'll just put it back. I don't even care.
it's a
It
fine
doesn't matter
fine
what it is.
piece.
Certainly far too rich for me, though. And then I'll pick up the ring and say, but this is nice too. And do the same thing and just ask him how much it is. Like before we go into particulars.
Okay. How much for the ring? 150.
Yeah. And I'll just put it back. I'll ask him what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, no,
he-
it's fine. It's fair to ask the prices and shop around and see what he has to offer, and he's more than happy to show you through the case, but he might even notice that you noticed the two things that he has that are magical at this
Certainly.
point too,
Certainly.
right?
No, and she's
So
not. Yeah. She might. Yeah. It's all good. She maybe have picked up one other piece, but yeah. Certainly not that terribly. If he picks up, he picks up. Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, yeah, he's happy to show you his wares and happy to have a shopper at this hour. And he says, "Are you staying at the inn?"
I believe so. I'm not arranging the stay. We're on to Restov.
Oh, to Restov. Yes, you will find many trinkets and necklaces there as well. Many more than I have. But
I will say goodbye to him in Dwarvish, just because I know Dwarvish. Just so there.
nice. You definitely get an eyebrow raise and a tip of the head for that. And he'll sit back down as you guys make your way through town. Anything else that anyone is inquiring about?
I would still be looking for alchemical supplies. So if there's anybody there that happens to have those available.
Try a diplomacy check, Reckla. Okay, so the dwarf will basically you can ask him, since you see Sydney building a rapport with him, you can ask him about supplies, and he'll say, "Oh," he says, "Yes, my colleague sells some of those effects," and he points to a stall around the corner from him where there is a gnome sitting, and he's got a little shop set up with all sorts of various things. But if you approach him and ask about alchemical or crafting items, he'll light up and pull out a small crate where you see some different bottles and different crafting items as well. So he says, "Ah, here, take a look," and hands this small box to you that you can take a look through. And in it, you see a couple of elixirs. Definitely looks like he's got some acid bombs and mutagen.
I was looking because he's got the ability to craft these different formulas. So he just needs the ingredients to craft these
Okay.
different formulas.
Okay. So if you want to, I guess you could roll a percentile. Let's see if how much of your
Yeah.
ingredient he has available.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna say he has half of the ingredients that you're looking for. But at least definitely like some of the things that you're gonna need, you could procure from him.
All right, cool.
So is there anything specifically you're trying to make, or any ingredient you're specifically looking for? What do you ultimately wanting to craft?
Okay, so there's a bottled lightning
Mm.
that I
Oh
can
wow, that's cool.
craft. Cheetah's elixir that I can craft. And giant centipede venom.
Okay.
So those are the three that I'm trying to get.
Okay,
Stuff.
so what we'll do is, how about you roll a D3, and we're gonna say he's got enough for one of these to be completed.
What is it? R//R.
Okay, so bottled lightning it is. So he actually will have the ingredients for bottled lightning. Looks like it's zinc dust and some kind of slime. There's like a whole formula, but yeah, he's basically able to get you enough that you could craft it, but I guess you still would have to take some time to craft it.
Yeah. How was it just be he has enough to do one, or could I get enough to do multiple from him?
You could get 2 from him. It's gonna
Okay.
cost you 6 gold pieces though,
Right.
by the way. Yeah.
Deal.
But it would be a lesser bottled lightning, and crafting time is 1 day of downtime.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll wait to craft because I don't think we're doing downtime here.
Yeah, but you're set. Once you do have downtime, you'll just need to make your crafting check at a DC 15. Yep, and then
Cool.
you'll have it. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you fill your supplies with crafting goods. Sydney has looked through the jewelry. Anything, Dallett, that you're interested in perusing or doing before?
Nah, well, for some potions and Restov.
Okay. All right, so you guys can make your way then to the inn. The inn is pretty busy actually when you get here. Definitely, again, this is a 90% human population, and the inn and tavern are no different. You see definitely some revelry and different groups, pockets of people enjoying themselves here. And the proprietor is a older woman who greets you at the door and says, "Good evening. Um, will you be dining or staying with us this evening? You're in luck. I've got just enough beds left for the 3 of you." And she looks around, surveys the room, and says, "That table over there should do fine for you. I'll have a server be with you in a moment." And with that, she'll ask you for, I guess it would be, let's see, 1 gold each.
All right, I'll take that out of the party inventory.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
And she gives you a
Petty cash. I'm
yeah.
gonna petty
That's
cash.
this is all this can all be expensed when you
This is
get
all
back to the
I
fort.
love it when boss pays for the lunch, man.
So you get yourself situated at the table. She gives you a key. There's a room upstairs that you can make your way to, and you're able to spend some time in here gossiping, information gathering, learning rumors or spreading rumors, whatever you choose to do. But you've got the opportunity to do that and fill yourselves up with sustenance.
I think Reckla will be inquiring on how to gain audience with the mayor or whoever the leader of the Nivatka's crossing is.
Okay. All right. I guess make a diplomacy check. Okay. So your server will bring you some bread and some drinks, and perhaps you're able to ask her who's the mayor of Nivatka's crossing, and she says, "Oh, Irvin. You'll want to speak to him, but he's a couple drinks in," and she points over. There's a table a couple away from you, and a couple of humans sitting there drinking and maybe enjoying themselves. They're a little more advanced in their evening than you all are. And you notice that, so she points out who Irvin is, and he's hanging out with a couple of other humans at a table nearby.
Excellent. Perhaps I'll just arrange a future meeting with him. Thank you.
Sure.
He'll probably wait until after he eats before he goes and approaches.
Okay. All right. So you walk over, and you can see an aristocrat male human sitting here, and then he's having drinks with this. The other 2 people he's having drinks with, one of them is a male human, and the other is a female human. I guess you could make a perception check. And do you have religion, I assume?
Yes, I am trained in religion.
Okay, make a religion check, please. Yeah, I'm gonna give this to you because it's so you notice that the male human that she's sitting with looks like he's like a town guard or something. He's definitely dressed more like that, but the other is dressed as a cleric. And you're pretty sure, you get the gut feeling that she is a follower of Pharasma.
Who's that?
Let's see, would you even know? I'm trying to think what your character. It's the Lady of Graves and deity of afterlife. Basically like fate and prophecy.
Okay.
It's more of a neutral god, and it's normally like their symbol is like a spiral that symbolizes like the circle of life and death.
So it is a bit of about balance as well.
But yeah, this is the company he keeps.
Gotcha. I would approach and say, "Good evening. It's nice to see such good spirits after some long days on the road. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Reckla, and I am traveling with my mates Dallett and Sydney, although we are missing a few of our crew. I thought it might be pertinent to introduce myself and perhaps arrange a meeting when we can discuss things more officially and not interrupt too much of your evening."
The mayor, you start to get the sense that the mayor might be a little bit more advanced in his evening than the other two. And he says, "What is he blathering on about? This is an official meeting. Have a seat." And he kicks the chair out for you to sit down.
They'll sit.
So they pour you a drink from their pitcher that they're already drinking
Sydney
from.
doesn't miss an opportunity either. She will walk over if she wasn't already. And pull up a seat too, if only to share the picture. This looks like a good time.
Yeah, Reckla will say, "I like any meeting that has drinks on the agenda."
Yes, yes. From where do you hail, friend?
"Oh, I hail from many places, but me and we are trying to establish ourselves to the south.
Oh, where exactly?
As of now, we are based out of the former Fort Sorrenco, now named Stagfall."
Stagfall. I've heard of this. New Brevoiser. Oh yes, yes. So you represent them. You represent New Brevoy or Stagfall.
We do, yes. We have been chartered by Lady Jamandi to establish a kingdom, and we intend to do, and such a feat wouldn't be possible without good relations here in Nivatka's crossing.
This is a most fortuitous meeting. We were just talking about you and the desire to trade and open trade routes in your direction.
That is ideal. That is precisely what we had in mind as well.
But what about this Lady Jamandi? Says the guard that's with him. What is her role? What kind of cut is Restov taking?
Restov does not ask for a cut. They are merely looking for stability in the region. And that stability they are willing to supplement with some of their resources. Not much, mind you. They are trying to be good allies and good stewards of the land, by all accounts.
What resources have you found? What can you offer
As
in
of now,
trade?
we are beginning to open up routes to a lucrative silver mine.
Silver. We like silver.
There's also a lovely death tube to the south.
Death tube.
Although we know not what resources it contains yet. Aside from smoke. Lots and lots of smoke.
Smoke, endless smoke.
Excuse me. And this is the first time you would hear the lady speak, and she says, "All things that are born must die." It sounds as if this place is unnatural.
It does. It falls under Cthulhu's demise. Cultists have run the region.
And I think with that, any grins or anything like that, any twinkling eyes just get serious when you mention Ergothoans. And the Mayor Irvin, he just looks like he's seen a ghost as you say that, and he says to you, "There's more than rumor of Ergothoans in this area. and their power seems to be growing.
You're in Nivatka Crossing?
In Bravoy, we have not seen them here yet, but we have had word of them coming from your direction. And
You've
some,
driven them at least as far south past the Sootscales, largely down south of the Shrike River.
and you have done well. You have done what others could not. And it's vitally important that we establish trade with you, but also that we secure ourselves and our borders. I will be willing to work with you on this, Irvin says. And again, it was fortuitous that you should come to Nivatka's Crossing today. They'll continue to pour drinks and conduct business with you to establish trade, to talk about the timing of when you'll have access to your silver. You can share with them however much you want if you're trying to portray that you're more mature as a kingdom than you are, or just being realistic. I'll leave that to you to decide how much of it you want to divulge.
I think at this point we'd be pretty open about the situation right now. We don't have a whole lot that I think we need to. I don't want to bring up any of the trouble we're having with Tartuccio because that could make us look a little weak. But I think divulging where we're at with our resources would be good, and maybe looping Dallett into the conversation about security and seeing as he's the general.
Yeah.
I'll propose that we could certainly start patrols between the settlements too, to try to keep the road safe.
That would be ideal. I think particularly once we have silver trading on this route, it will become more deadly, I suspect. But we will send, in good faith, a tool resupply to your fort. In the morning, I will see to that we have any able tools gathered and shipped to your fort, where I assume they will know how to best put them to use. But
we have our top men on it.
Very well, then it is done. Embrace the alliance with new whatever. We embrace the alliance.
I embrace this drink.
Yes,
Cheers.
cheers to you. Cheers to you all. And so with that, you guys can have more discussion with them.
Finer details.
Yeah, but eventually they start to fade away one by one, heading home, and you're left to pay your tab. And actually, no, your tab is paid. The mayor has taken care of your tab, and you are able to adjourn to your rooms, where we'll park this session, and then we'll start next session here in Nivatka's Crossing the following morning, and figure out where you guys, how far you can get. So
yeah, striking distance of Restov finally.
Yeah, you're a day's ride now. You're one day's ride, so you'll be in Restov next session, no matter what, unless some crazy dice roll prevents that, which I can't. I've seen some crazy dice rolls, but no, I think you did pretty good in terms of getting caught up on all your kingdom rolls.
Yeah, I felt bad leaving all that behind, especially with the fort being worked on and everything.
Yeah, so now you've checked in, you've got everything resolved, pretty well oiled. You're chasing the only loose end right now, as far as I can see. And you've got all these projects underway that are going to eventually come to a head and start delivering and creating trade routes and enable different growth for you, including with money. But yeah, no, it's a good session. Glad we were able to play. And thanks, guys, for being flexible and shifting to tonight. It's not normal that I'll ask you to do that, but I really appreciate you being able to do it.
Yeah,
no, it's all good. I just glad I saw it this time in time.
Yeah, I'm too. I'm glad. I'm too. Because I like it with 3. I think 3 is perfect. Yeah. Anytime we can have 3, I definitely want to play. But yeah, I'll let you guys think about, or maybe throw some name ideas in the Discord.
Oh, yeah.
I'll poke the bear a little bit and get you guys to come up with some suggestions. But no, it was fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie.
Hey.
Thanks for running, man.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Hey, safe travel, Ben. Have a good trip.
Thanks.
We'll see you.
Try.